Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Marketing Cloud Administrator Certification Bootcamp, Day 10. I can't believe we are already into the day 10 of our bootcamp. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we appreciate you for your continued interest and your passion to upskill. Today, I have our amazing guest speaker, Karina, with us to talk all about the maintenance section of the exam. And as always, we do have our wonderful Naji with us today.
Hi.
A few housekeeping items before we get started. The session is being recorded and you will get the link to the recording and the copy of the presentation in the next 24 hours. And you can also find that in the resources section of our Slack group. And you can also find all of the important resources in the resources channel of our Slack group. And we would love to hear your feedback. Please post them on Twitter or on the Slack channel using the hashtag MCAdmin020 and tag @PHXB2CUG. What are we grateful for today? Well, did I forget something in here? How can I forget this? How can I forget you and how awesome you have been? Today, I'm grateful for you, each and every one of you. Thank you for all your participation and making this bootcamp a huge success. You have been a wonderful audience, and I truly appreciate you for all your interest and your passion. We have received more than 500 registrations for this bootcamp and seen a very good attendance rate over all the previous sessions. We hope the bootcamp has been helpful to each one of you, no matter where you are in your journey. As Gilda says, lift as you climb. You have all proved an example of that. Not only that you were attending all the sessions, but you also were active on the Slack channel, helping each other by answering the questions on the Slack channel. I can say how grateful I am for you and for the opportunity for doing this bootcamp along with Naji and the tremendous support from all the speakers, Gilda, and everyone. I would like to share a few feedback that we have received. And thank you for all your positive feedback and comments that you have provided to the bootcamp, the speakers, and to the sessions. This means a lot to us and encourages us to do more such sessions. So here's a recap of what we have discussed so far as part of our bootcamp. You can find all the recordings and all the sessions that were conducted earlier. And you can also find a link to all the presentations and all the recordings at the YouTube playlist that is linked in here, and also all the presentations are linked in here. So if you would want an overview of any of the topics not covered during this bootcamp and are relevant to the exam, or there are something that you would like to know, please feel free to let us know. Please let any of us know, and I'll try to add the videos as well to this bootcamp, to this playlist. This bootcamp is not going to end here, so we will still be reachable. We'll be hanging around, and we would love to hear your questions and answer them for you. And also, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of the channels, on any of the channels. And after you clear your certification, let us know how the exam has been and how you have done the exam. And don't forget to tweet it on the Twitter using the hashtag MCAdmin020. And today we're going to discuss all about the maintenance section, which takes 15% of the exam. And we can expect 9 questions on this. And we're going to discuss all about data cleanup, reports, marketing cloud accounts, how to manage them, and some of the marketing cloud products we have discussed in our earlier sessions. And today we have our wonderful Karina with us. She is an expert in the marketing cloud. She has been in the marketing cloud for around maybe more than a decade. I remember that she was from the time 2008 or sometime before that. So I'm so grateful that
I can't even remember
Karina
anymore.
is going to So take it over, Karina.
Great. All right, let me get my screen here going for everyone. Will you let me know when you can see my screen, please?
Yes, we can.
I can? Okay. All right, perfect. I got too many other things. I almost need a third monitor. Apparently, you can never have enough monitors. But yeah, so I am Karina Cohen, and I am here today to talk to you all about maintaining your account. So this is one of the most important things that you will do as an administrator in order to enable your email specialists, your developers, and your consultants, pretty much everyone else or all the other certifications. So let's go ahead and dive in. First, I'll tell you a little bit about myself here, if I can get my PowerPoint to change slides. There we go. Alrighty, so I am a Marketing Cloud developer. I'm the platform administrator, I'm the product manager, and I'm the architect for Caleres, which many of you would know as the shoe brands that I have on here. I spend most of my time working on Famous Footwear, Dr. Scholl's, Naturalizer, and Sam Edelman, and then supporting some of the smaller brands and helping them with reaping the benefits of the bigger brands projects. So I actually hail in Denver, Colorado, and I know there's a few of you from the Slack channel that had said you were from Denver. So this is one of my favorite hikes in Denver, up in Crusted Butte. Or actually, no, sorry, this is my favorite stop on the side of the highway. I couldn't decide which picture I wanted to use. And then I also wanted to brag a little bit because I found out this week that I am a finalist for the Email Marketing Excellence Awards for a campaign that we did earlier this year where we gave away free shoes to nurses working in ERs when COVID first hit. So we are super excited because it's one of the first times that our email program has actually made it as a finalist in an awards program. All right, so let's get on to what you all came here for, and we'll start with platform status monitoring. So before you even log in, there are a lot of tools that Salesforce gives you to help you with monitoring just if your system is up at all, making sure you're within compliance as far as data transfer standards, and even gives you their security practices all in one place. And it's known as Salesforce Trust. I have an example of one of the trust emails here down below in the bottom corner, where you can see our database is getting ready to have some maintenance for the October release. And so these are one of the pieces that you get when you are part of the Salesforce Trust notifications. The uses are, as I've put, that you know when the maintenances are coming or even releases, and you can register for status emails. So whenever there's an outage, if you don't want to have to go to not Marketing Cloud, Trust to be able to see the outage, or say you're swamped, you can sign up instead to have notifications sent to you, and then from there it'll link back to Trust and you can go and investigate the issue further. Here's the URL. I knew I had it in here somewhere. So this is the first page that you go in, and you'll see this is the marketing areas. This is my database. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of databases that are available within Marketing Cloud. And then you can also see my stack here. Many of you probably hear on different channels, if you've been in email for the Salesforce side, people talking about different stacks being out. So we're on stack 7. And at this time, the overall system is all green checks. If they were yellow or red, that would mean that there were some issues. And then I have down here on this URL where you can get there and then sign up for the notifications and whatnot. So here is the actual maintenance schedule if you were to log in for your database. So here you can see everything that we have coming up for my accounts. So I can then plan accordingly when to not send a mission critical campaign, because there may be pieces of it that do not function during a release Saturday. So this helps me with being able to plan a lot of our campaigns around these pushes while still meeting our different timelines that we have internally. All right, so now we're going to move on to Automation Studio and how I use it for account administration. So one of the very first things that I implemented as an administrator at Caleres is these monitoring emails that go out every day. And I did this through Automation Studio. I query data views, and then I count the rows within the tables and display it in an automated email using AMP script in the email to show all this information. And then it goes out to our internal seed list every day. This is all of our different accounts, and you can see what took place each day, and then also our audience counts. as well. Or actually, sorry, I don't have our audience counts. I have our account performance and our import results, because these are two of our main ones. We have a third one that also has our audience count variances for the day. And these are the ones that go out to our SVPs all the way down to our email specialists. So these are some of the most important emails that come out of Marketing Cloud every day for our entire company. Alrighty, so since I was talking about Automation Studio and creating an automation, let's talk about the different steps here on how you would get this out. So first, there's extracts. A data extract is the activity that you use to pull data out of Marketing Cloud to be able to use in other applications. There are different extracts, and we'll go over those here on the next slide, but many of them can be configured for exact dates or rolling ranges. A rolling range is something such as last month, last week, last year, this quarter. And so every time that you go in and run that extract, it will run for that time period and automatically update it instead of having to put in specific dates. And this can all be automated. One thing to note is the data is rounded to the nearest second. Most of the time as an administrator, you will not need to know that, but it may come in handy to know for your developers or your IT team when they are working with data. You also need to have your file transfer locations configured on your Salesforce FTP. And your account settings or your data extract activities will not work. They need to have file locations assigned in the activity in order to place it on the FTP so that you can actually access it. If you were to run a data extract without having an FTP location, it wouldn't go anywhere. All right, so our most common extracts, or at least the most common that I use as an administrator, are the tracking extract. The tracking extract is what it sounds like. It has most of your tracking information that you can export and put into external systems. It has email jobs, clicks, bounces, back when surveys were still around an exact target. It even had the survey data. But all of this you then take as an extract, you put it on the FTP, and then your IT team, your data science team, or some other team then goes to the FTP with whatever automation they have, pull off that file and pull it into their system to then be able to import it and do data modeling or be a data warehouse if you want to keep track of past messaging and be able to do any type of historic segmentation based off of anything older than, say, 6 months, which is the maximum amount of time that most of the data is within Marketing Cloud. There's also convert to XML. You probably won't do too much with converting to XML, but you need to know that it's available for your IT team. A lot of times they will provide you an XML file, and this is one of the fastest ways for your team to be able to ingest that XML file and to be able to use it with AMP script and whatnot, instead of having to go through and do such like parse JSON or any of the other highly development heavy pieces that you would need to be able to get the same information. And then finally, the data extension extract. Data extension extracts just take your data extension data and put it on the FTP. This can be used for moving data around within your accounts. I use it for making static backups of our audiences. And then you could also use it for taking any of this data extension information and putting it into an external system as well. There's an infinite number of ways that you can use it, but this is a way to just pull a specific data extension with all of the data within it and get it onto your FTP so that you can use it outside of Marketing Cloud. All right, and so the final part is notifications. Along with your automation, you want to make sure that you know when it fails or successful. So at the very last tab of Automation Studio, which I can show you here towards the end, there is the notification settings. So you can either have a successful notification here that lets you know every time that it runs successfully. I highly recommend that you do not put successful notifications for every single program that you have, and only the mission critical ones that you really need to know whether or not they run successfully. Otherwise, I know I would get hundreds of emails every single day when all of my automations across 14 brands kicked off, and that would be all I was doing, is sorting through successfully started automation emails. The error one, you want to make sure you always have someone on there, or even some type of distribution list or seed list, so that whoever within your company that needs to know it failed and can take action does get notified. You can add more than one person in there. They're just comma delimited. So you would just put in an email address, do a comma, put in another email address. I haven't really ever hit a limit on how many email addresses you could put in there. And then the last part is there is a newer step that you can use within Automation Studio that is a verification step. This one is the one that I use quite often for checking mission critical steps within automation. So for example, you can see the one that I have on here. It's taking a look at a static copy data extension. So what happens before this verification step is I have a script activity that goes out and looks at the parent level automation, sees if it completed. If it did not complete, it puts a 1 into the data extension, and that tells this verification step to stop the automation and don't make a static copy, because the copy would be a 0 count audience and we would have no one to send to. If it was a successful run, it doesn't update the data extension at all, and the verification step skips or just verifies it's good and then continues on through the automation. So it's one way that you can make it so that you can stop an automation from taking place. Another way that I use these verification steps is to monitor the counts of our coupons and promo codes and trigger an email to my brand manager and the e-commerce manager to tell them that they need to generate more promo codes so that I can import them into our system. So those are just a few ways that you can utilize notifications within Automation Studio as an administrator as well. All right, so the next part is auditing your environment. I recommend auditing your Salesforce Marketing Cloud environment at least once a year, even if it's just a high-level audit to see what has changed from the previous year. But this is how you know all of your mission-critical automations, where all of your audiences are located for messaging, and even going in and just making sure everything's running. So as it says here, audits are an important step in helping you proactively identify risks and fix issues. One of the main things that you want to do is you want to make sure that you write down, like I was saying, all of your automations so that you know which ones to go in and check every year. And then you want to make sure that you're looking for all of these red flags that I listed below. I actually go in and look for failing queries once a month. Every once in a while, bad data can get into your system and it can make one of your queries start to fail. It may not be a query that's part of an automation that's mission critical, and sometimes we have some that just run and we don't need any type of notification because it's an automation that just does a data extract and throws it somewhere for another group to grab it. And sometimes those extracts only run maybe once a month or every 6 months to do aggregate data. So some of those, it's easier to go in and keep an eye on them myself. And then also I go in just to kind of see if there are ways that I can make them better, if there's new features that have come out within Marketing Cloud that I can replace. So say way back when we used Automation Studio for our birthdays, we had a query and we had email and then a wait and then another email and then a wait. But then there was Journey Builder. So when I went in and audited that year, I replaced all of the automations with journeys. So it's even pieces like that that go through your audit that may not take place if somebody wasn't going through and checking it. All right, and system data views. So system data views will be used mainly by your developers and by your data science and kind of data teams. Data views are used for reporting, querying, modeling, all kinds of use cases. It only contains up to 6 months worth of Marketing Cloud subscriber and journey information. This is part of why you extract it out and you would put it into a data warehouse. So if you wanted to do modeling or reporting on a longer time period and not use one of the out-of-the-box reports for Marketing Cloud, or you even know that the Marketing Cloud report is also limited to 6 months, you would take your data views and you would extract them out and then you would put them into another tool. You can also use these for segmentation. So we take the data views on if someone clicked or not, and we put it into our audience criteria, and we use that as a suppression when we have a heavy marketing weekend. So if we're going to send multiple emails in a day, we'll even take that second audience build and we'll query on the data view to see if they clicked or opened in the first email. And if they did open and click, then we don't send them the second email because clearly they already know that we're having a sale. So we're not going to harass them for that day and we let them wait till the next day. Another example is we go in and we query for anyone who has unsubscribed from our external source, and then we update all of our unsubscribes within our status and all subscribers, and then we query these tables to make sure that our unsubscribe counts in Marketing Cloud and our CRM both match, to make sure that we don't have anybody that is out of compliance. All right, let's see here. And then, oh yes, and then staging tables. So a lot of times you can use these data views even for staging tables. For example, I have a journey where I take a data view on if someone was not sent the previous emails in the journey, and I use that staging table as a decision split. And if they were not sent the previous email because of whatever reason, such as undeliverable or bounced, or even being on a suppression list at that time, then I kick them out of the journey, or at least and skip the remaining sends, because if it's a bad address, they don't need to keep going through our journey. All right, and SynLogging. SynLogging has a lot of similar uses to what we were previously talking about, except SynLogging captures send time values at the time of the send going out. And you can use this for reporting, extracting, and even for tracking data. It provides high-level data from the system, and then you can also add up to 10 custom fields. So you'll get your send time, your name, there's a few other pieces that also within your email configuration page when you're creating the email that get logged. But then you can also do things such as take a piece of data from your audience and add it as a custom field. So if you wanted to know how many people were, say, male versus female, or have an affinity for, say, famous footwear for Adidas versus Nike, if we have that in our data, we can then collect that to then use for reporting and even analysis to see how these different fans or these different key pieces of data are interacting and engaging with our emails. And yeah, so, but the important thing to know, and I believe at one point this was a test question on one of the exams, is send logs. You only get one per type of messaging. So you get one email send log, you get one SMS send log, you get one push send log. Your email send log, though, you need to know it does not collect Journey Builder sends. You can have a user initiated send, a triggered send, and an A/B test. But anything going through Journey Builder does not get collected. It is not considered a triggered send. I've had that argument before with people, but it is not a triggered send when it is in a journey. They mean the true triggered send under the interactions piece. All right, and then yes, so and the way that you make these, sorry, I almost forgot the most important part. So the way that you create these SynLog data extensions is actually through a template. So you would go into your data extension section, you would create a new data extension, and then instead of creating from scratch, you would pick in the drop down that you want to create from template, and then there's a template for each one of them that clearly says email SynLog, data extension, SMS SynLog. So they make it so that it's very easy to figure out which one it is and get it created. So the piece that you really need to know for yourself are your custom fields. You can add custom fields after you create the data extension, but you'll have to make them nullable, because you can only create non-nullable fields when there's no data in the data extension. Alrighty, so standard reports. This is the Email Studio reports. And one thing to note is while they are still there and you still can run them, they are no longer updated. They will not have any type of release support or have any changes made to them. Instead, everything is done now through Analytics Builder. So that is the area that you want to go to for pretty much all of the reports that we have within the next couple of slides. But you do need to know still that there are standard reports versus Analytics Builder reports for the exam, because this change was implemented after the exam was written. So that one also piece to note, or important piece to note, is that in standard reporting in Email Studio, you can only report on email. No SMS, no push. Two administrator reports that are there that I use all the time, either through Analytics Builder or Email Studio, either one, because they both still run, are the email send report and the email send report by user. I use the email send report way more than I do by user. It's only every once in a while where we want to see kind of how effective each team member is within our email specialist that we use that report by user. The email send report by user, you also have to limit it to a specific time frame, where the email send report, you can do pretty much any time frame, past or present. The email send report just lays out all of the different emails that have been sent from your accounts. If you run it at the parent level, if you have an enterprise, it can also break them out by all of your business units. So if you want to have an overall account, enterprise account email send report, you want to run it at the parent level. Otherwise, you will get just your business unit data back for your send report. But both can be useful. It just depends on what the person that's requesting the report is looking for. Another one that I use all the time that is not considered an administrator report is the account send summary. This is it has more data in it than the email send report. The email send report is just email name, date it was sent, job ID, the basics that you also get on your tracking page. The account send summary gives you your response rates, your unsubscribe rates. It covers, again, all of your accounts. It will also break things out with more detail as far as commercial, transactional. You get a lot more detail with the account send summary. And previously, you were able to create custom reports, but you had to do it via a support ticket through Salesforce, and they would add it to your account. It was not something you could go and create your own custom report and then edit it all the time. With Analytics Builder, though, that changed. So now we'll move on to Analytics Builder. So Analytics Builder is the self-service tool now that contains an entire catalog of reports and also has a blank template for email sending performance report, which you can use for creating your own reports with whatever data that you need via the drag and drop functionality. So you can run these reports manually, or you can also schedule them to run automatically and deliver via FTP or email. You can also choose, if you run it manually, to download it from the browser. Let's see here. And the administrator part, that's right. So another key piece, I don't believe this will be on the exam, but just as an administrator, it is good to know. The administrator part of Analytics Studio is where the auditing reports supplied by Salesforce support will be placed. So anytime that they make any major platform change where they need you to change profile settings or security settings, they will put some type of auditing report in this administrator section, and it will be mentioned in the email from Salesforce itself saying that you need to run this report. And then that report will tell you whatever changes that need to be made before the platform change, or otherwise your account will break. So you really want to make sure that you pay attention to what reports are in that administrator portion of Analytics Builder. And then also note that if you have large amounts of data, the tool will often time out. So unfortunately, once you become a large brand with millions and millions of rows of data, it can become very difficult to extract the data that you're looking for unless you do very small date ranges. So I can show you here, even for example, on mine where I was trying to run it. Well, today it's decided that we are no longer authorized. So that's the other fun piece when you have too much data, is it likes to struggle here and not load very well. Alrighty, so let's get back over to here. Oh, apologize while I feverishly flick through these real quick so we can get to the end of the SynLogging. Whoop, and now I went too far. Here we go. Oh. Alrighty, so it looks like we are ready for me to show you. So now I was going to take some time to actually walk you through some of my automations and pieces that I have within my accounts that I have created as an administrator to make my job easier. And also just to kind of give you some real world examples so that you can see them. So here's the first piece that I was showing you. I've got my 2 emails here where I take AMP script tied to data extensions that are just used for staging to pull in those emails that you saw that go out to my entire company. So this is one that I also didn't mention. This one only goes out once a month. and just has all of the promotion IDs that are available that we use for segmenting, because we have special mailing IDs that we then stream into Marketing Cloud, and we use that as a special control group to keep track of and see if we do better when we both send snail mail and email to subscribers. So that's what this one is for. And then let's see. Yep. Sorry guys, Analytics Studio is just not going to load apparently tonight for you to see it. I apologize. So we will hop over here to my account. And this is one of them that I was telling you about. This is my staging one. So I have my script here. You don't have to worry about this until developer level. But I have my queries here.
Karina, can you zoom your screen?
Oh,
can you zoom your screen? It appears to very tiny.
Is that better?
Yeah, this looks better. If you can do it more, that would be great.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, much better now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, sorry, that's my double wide monitor. So here is where I have the validation piece that I was telling you about, where the data extension gets updated, and then this is my verification step. If this verification step fails, the rest of this automation does not run, and I don't have static backups of my audience. The reason I had to create this as an administrator was we had days where our audience queries would run long and they would time out, and then we would have 0 people to send to. So we would instead, before we started those queries, make a copy of the audience and create them as a static backup. And then we both attach the static backup and our live audience. So even if the audience were to fail, we still have a list of subscribers that will receive the email for the day. So those are the pieces that as an administrator, you kind of have to think through and problem solve to make sure that your account keeps running. And a lot of times you'll even team up with a developer for these pieces. But these are the data extracts, as you saw, and we can even open up one of these here. And so a data extract, when you create it, you have to have a unique name. The external key, if you don't create an external key, it will make one for you. This file naming pattern, this is what I want to note. This you have to use across your entire automation. So take note of this. And then for a data extract, you also need to save it as a zip file, because that is what is dropped out on the FTP. So even if you don't put it as a zip file, it's still going to be a zip file anyway. And you'll start to struggle with having the correct file type identified as you go further along and start doing file transfers and imports if you don't keep this set up here. And you can see this one is a data extension extract. So then from there, you actually let it know which type of delimiter you want. The most common are comma and tab. Some people use pipe as well, but those are the 3 that are mostly used. And then this DE customer key is the actual data extension you are extracting. So this is the external key. So where we created an external key here, data extensions also have an external key. And so you copy that external key, and that's what you place here. And then if your column has headers, then you would check that, and then these other pieces as well. You can go and read about all of these different settings within the help portal. And then it gives you your final view here to confirm. So from there, this is where you have your file transfers, and where I was saying that if you don't have an FTP location set up, you're not going to be able to access your data extract. So an data extract, when run in the previous step, goes into a data warehouse for Marketing Cloud. You cannot access that Marketing Cloud Safehouse data warehouse. Instead, you have to create one of these file transfer activities to bring it from that warehouse/Safehouse to your FTP. And then this destination here is your FTP destination that you set up in your setup tabs for your data access. And then this is the final one where it's just importing it into the data extension that we use for our audiences. So that is one of the examples of a daily automation. Oh, don't save. Although also remember as an administrator that when you go in to demo things, to make sure you restart it, or you won't have an audience the next day. There we go. All right, so here is where most of my administrator automations run. I try and keep a really clean account so everything is really easy to find. If I come into a company and it has a messy account when I start, that's one of the first things I do is clean it up and create naming conventions and document it. As you can see here, we have some that are just a query. These go into staging data extensions and are actually used then within our audience builder tool, which you may have seen in one of your previous demos when I was talking about the other studios. This is my not sent split staging. So this one is actually querying against the data views as we had talked about. So it's going in, let's see. Yeah, here we go, not send job staging. I'll pop one of these open for you. Oh, that's too, apologies. I meant to have this up earlier, but as you can see, I was having issues with things loading today, so I didn't get to load or create all of the different pieces or open all the different pieces that I wanted to have ready. That's also staging. Well, you're getting a quick tour of my automation here. All right. Oh, here we go. Apologies, those are all the pre-processing to clear out the previous days. So this is one that I created about 6 months ago, and I don't check it too often anymore, except when I go through and do audits to make sure that it's still working. So you'll see here, I'm combining a whole bunch of different tables. And you want to make sure for each table, when you're starting to learn to write queries, you'll start to learn that all of these different letters go back to whichever table it is that you're looking at. When you are trying to query against a parent account, that is where you're going to want to put this ENT piece, or you will not be able to access a parent account data extension from a child account. So this is one of those where I take all of these different pieces from the system data and I put it into a staging table so then I can use it for a split within Journey Builder. And I can, oh, let me reactivate. Now I can take you over to Journey Builder and show you where this is implemented. All right, we will go over. So the new Google cookies issue that has been coming up, that is the reason why I couldn't get those pieces to load. There are certain cookies that it will not authenticate. So that's one of the things that you need to keep in mind as well when you're working with Marketing Cloud is if you are used to using an incognito window to get additional tabs, a lot of those are starting to be limited thanks to Google. But we have Analytics Builder now in this account because there's not nearly as much data. This is the difference between the other account we were in has about 36 billion rows of data because we keep a lot of data, where this one only has a few million rows of data. So you can actually, so it loads. Let's see if we can get one to actually run. Oops. So this is one of my weekly reports that we run every week that summarizes what has been going on within our account. It is one where I was talking about you use the drag and drop functionality from over here to create your own metrics. And then here is where you have your option to email, drop on the FTP, download from the browser, and take a snapshot. So this is basically like a screenshot of just this section. You also have the option that you can look at. Oh, was it zoomed out
again?
Do you
mind to zoom it a bit?
Yeah, I can see it. That's a little weird.
There we go. Oh,
thank you.
There we go.
Thanks.
Oh, now it's getting a little aggressive. And this is where I was talking about that, as I was saying, when you have a large amount of data, it can take a really long time to run. We used to have a person that before COVID, just her job was to do all of these analytics pieces. Oh, it ran! Sorry, it's very rare that I can actually get one of these to run, which is why we rely so heavily on data warehousing and modeling outside of the system. But as you can see here, this just has a lot of our delivery metrics, which then we have this scheduled to go out, which I believe is this. Yeah, it's this one. So this one is actually gets scheduled to go out as an email. And so these are your different options here. And then again, well, actually, this is one of the differences. So over here, you can only use a semicolon, where in Automation Studio, you can use both a comma or a semicolon to separate out your different people receiving your emails. And then you can also pick here from the different pieces. So these two Excel spreadsheets and the Adobe PDF will give you the chart, and it will give you the data. This data file is just the data. So this data file option will only give you this table that you see behind me. All the other versions will give us this table as well, if I can get it to run. And in the meantime, I'm going to hop over here to get Journey Builder open. Maybe. Here we go. Do we have a chart? Oh, it tried. So this would come out in a bit of a nicer version that you could at least expand within Excel to be able to see all of this. Clearly on this one, we just pull out the data, and then we actually do some different modeling within Omniture that we use within the report as well. We just have this for more of a summary. So I'm going to put it back to where it needs to be. And so now we'll go back over here to where that split was. And I apologize for jumping around while everything's taking forever to load. I just wanted to make sure that we maximize our time and I show you as much as we can. And so here is where my decision split based off of that staging table takes place. So it looks at my data extension and I have it looking for email address and customer number, both here. And if they are basically, and this I'm just saying if they are present. You can go in and actually set it to more specific criteria if you need to, but for this one, I just want to know if they're on this table, kick them out because I don't want to keep sending them marketing emails. As you can see, right now we only have 6 that have gotten kicked out, which is good. But for a while there, we had a lot of issues before we implemented a list scrubber with bad email addresses coming in. And so this number was a lot larger on some of our previous versions of our journey. Now that we've actually implemented something that validates the email addresses beforehand, the number has dropped a lot lower. So data integrity and scrubbing before they even enter is always important as an administrator as well, as part of taking care of your account. There are tools out there that you can use in addition to the content or the list detective and I can't remember the other tool. There are pieces within Marketing Cloud that will check your email addresses, but there are still other ones out there that have access to other tools that can also tell you whether or not somebody has a bad email address or is one that even is inactive. So a lot of times they can even tell us, yes, it is a good email address, but it has not been interacted with or is just out there floating as nothing and has been flagged somewhere. They won't tell you where exactly it is that they access the data because otherwise you wouldn't have to pay them for that tool, but it still helps you with cleaning up your list and making sure that you have good email addresses before you kick off a journey or send them a message. Alrighty, so do we have any questions?
Do we have questions? Karina, we got so many questions. I don't even know where to start. I'm actually kind of glad so you're done for your presentation?
Yep.
This was
I
great.
figured that this would require a lot of questions because this is one that's kind of an enigma, and unless you have been an administrator, you don't really know what to do to be a good administrator. So I
No,
wanted to
you
leave
did
plenty
such
of
a
time
good
for
job
questions.
presenting. I even had questions. Like I'm sitting here just like, oh my gosh, this is great to walk through. So I'm just gonna start reading. Lots of people had lots of questions, and these were really, really good questions. So yeah, if you don't mind, let's just get started. So so the first question is, are stacks broken up into individual databases?
The data view stats are they're not separate databases, they're separate tables
Separate
within
tables
one large database.
that are one does. Okay.
So it'd be very similar to like your Marketing Cloud account and then how you have all of your different data extensions.
Mhm.
It's just a much bigger version in a database world. But technically, we could say that all of our tables behind the scenes would be like one big database, and then those are all little tables that you then access to build your data.
Okay. So it's one person said, I've been curious what the DB number is in trust.
That is your database. Here, let me see if I can actually get to the trust site here because I want to show you guys I tried to take a screenshot, but it was way too big of all the databases. So
Yeah.
because there are literally I cannot type today. Here is
If you can zoom in, that'd be great.
yeah, I'm trying to find the Marketing Cloud ones first here. So, from what I remember, there's
I want to go ahead and preface while she's doing her lookups. You guys, I may not be able to get to all of your questions. A lot of you guys have some amazing questions. So definitely just letting you all know ahead of time, I may not be able to get to them, but I'm going to do my best to get to as many as I can before the night is over. And please don't forget that you guys, she's also on our Stacks channels. You guys can also reach out to her that way as well. So
yep, I'm always happy to answer questions. Yeah, here's all the databases. So we'll just keep
ooh, that looks
scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So those are all the different databases that make up Marketing Cloud. That if you are a customer, you are on one of these. And then these are what are broken down into the stacks, which was that stack that I was telling you about that we're on stack 7. I can't even tell you how many stacks there are anymore now. I know when I worked at ExactTarget 10 years ago, we had 10. So I can only imagine how many there are now, especially with
that.
all these databases.
Someone
That's
said,
just the
how big
Marketing
is
Cloud
your monitor?
databases. All of these other tabs have their own set of databases.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Someone said, how big is your monitor? My goodness.
So I got a really good deal at Black Friday last year, and my monitor is actually the equivalent of 2 monitors put together.
That is amazing. All right, so the next question I have is, how would you, you mentioned about like what you do is you do every month, you kind of check for failing queries in your audits. How would you go about looking for a failing query in audits when you do your audits? Like, how would you do that?
Yeah, it's actually super simple. Let me get over here to Automation Studio. So the first thing that I do is I just go in here, if it'll load. It's being super slow tonight. Performance anxiety, I guess, for Marketing Cloud tonight. So the first thing I do is I just go in here to this drop down and I look at everything that says error. Here, let's go up to my parent account where I know there's actually stuff erroring so you can see some real results. So here we go. So here are all of my different ones that are either erroring or no longer running. But the
Okay,
last time that they did run, they have an error. So these are
got
the
it,
ones that I go in and edit. So like this one I actually need, and unfortunately this one has actually been failing for a few months now. It's a data integrity issue with our POS integration with our CRM that feeds it through. So this is one that I ended up, I have the notifications turned on instead, so that way I know. But it's definitely one that I keep an eye on.
Okay.
So these are the notification settings here where I was talking about. So run completion is the success message, and that's the one where I'm saying If you have stuff that runs every day and you know it mostly runs successfully, I would not encourage you to to sign up or put your email address in there, because you will just get a ton. It's basically spamming yourself.
Yeah. All right.
As you can see, I have a ton of automations in here. So if all of those let me know every time they ran successfully, I would have so many emails.
That's crazy.
Hey, Karina, can you hear me?
Hmm?
This is Gilda. Can I just shoot in a best practice on the automations? The one thing I would advise everyone to do for the automations is don't put just one name underneath. Make sure you put either your team mailbox, make sure you put a couple of people, because if you're on vacation for a week and an automation fails and you're the only email address on there, that can cause some major problems if you have any campaigns or triggers or journeys running off of that.
That's
Yeah, because this is definitely one. That one should not have had one name. So that actually shows me that our CRM guy, because that's who that was, and this comes from the CRM, went in and changed it to only notify him now. So apparently he didn't want everyone else to know anymore. So that is also why I go in and audit these, because at one point this was going out to everyone on our distribution list. Which I can show you here. On this one,
I remember constantly auditing all of those to make sure that there's more than one person's name.
Yes, this one should have. Yeah, so this one has.
Right.
Yep. So this one has myself and our other email manager, and then we have a distribution list for. Well, it says exact target, but that's actually Marketing Cloud, and then we have this one as well that's internal. Or no, that's our service team. So apparently, oh, that's right. We got rid of the internal one on this one because everybody was freaking out when it failed. So this one, we had a distribution list on it. That's the other thing. You have to think about who will be on it. So every time this one failed, because this is our main parent audience build, that then trickles out all of the data for all of our other audiences. So every time this would fail and the SVPs would be on the distribution list and find out, they would be calling me at 6 in the morning, freaking out. So make sure you pick who should actually be on that distribution list to go along with it as well. So that's why that one only has Salesforce distribution list now. Is there were too many false alarms going off internally.
Okay, great answer. We have a lot more. So what are ways to avoid the insert/upsert rights at send time?
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
Sure. What are ways to avoid the insert or upsert rights at send time?
Are you talking about for SynLogging?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I need one more. I've had a very long day today. I apologize, guys. I'm actually getting ready to change departments on Monday, so I have the next 24 hours to finish up all my other projects. So I had a lot going on. So yeah, one more time, Najee, now that it's SynLogging.
What are ways to avoid the insert/upsert rights at send time?
So you don't want to do SynLogging, is what they're asking?
I don't know. I don't know if that's what the person was trying to say. I hope my girl can answer me real quick.
Yeah, because that one, SynLogging you have to have enabled by services. So out of the box, you will not have SynLogging.
Okay, so it seems like
but it does not slow down the send time, if that's what you're asking. If that's what you were worried about, is that it would slow down send time by inserting and upserting to the SynLog. It does not do that.
Okay.
That's why they limit you to the 10 custom fields.
In the audit screen. So I think you already answered this question for her. So then I'll go to the next one. What is best practice for SynLogging in Journey Builder?
A lot of that is really querying out of the data views and then kind of building your own staging table.
Okay, so building your own staging team. Okay, that's a good answer. Can you have an email SynLog at both the business unit level and at the enterprise level?
No, you can only have it go, it only monitors what goes out of your account, and then you can bring it all up to another staging data extension. But the best you could do would be that account send summary piece that I showed you that has a lot of that same data. Otherwise, yeah, you would just make one master level, but it will only, the parent SynLog will only monitor what's going out of the parent account.
Okay. Great. Do you know if the new transactional send from Journey Builder is treated as a triggered send as well?
I do not. I have not been able to get it to work yet.
Okay, good answer.
If you know how to get it to work, please find me on Slack.
What kind of data retention policy do you have on your staging tables? You know
It
that I
really
was gonna
depends
have
on the
this
data. So for some of my data extensions where they're just staging for something like a decision split, those I either overwrite them every day so I don't have to worry about data retention, or I set the data retention for however long it is that I need to hold on to the person. We also have a journey builder data extension that we use where we want to be able to let people re-enter the journey every 6 months. So that one I actually have data retention set for 6 months for insert date. And then that way they get purged out and then they can qualify for another 10% off welcome trigger. So it really is case by case and thinking about how long you need to have that data. I do have some of our staging tables where I've set them out to even be like 2050. So that way, if somehow we're still using Marketing Cloud in 2050, if there's still really old data in there, at least I'll get rid of it.
Okay.
Another thing to note is that if you need specific criteria to get rid of data within a data extension, you can't use the data retention policies for that. Instead, that's where I usually use a query and an overwrite to then overwrite so that all the old data goes away. For example, coupon redemption. So I only want people who have redeemed on the redemption date if it's older than anywhere from 6 to 11 months, depending on what kind of promotion. It's 11 months if it's birthday, so that you can't abuse and get a new birthday coupon every month. But welcome is every 6 months, as I was saying. So that one I actually query for anything that has not been redeemed or anything with a redemption date lower than that threshold. That I put into a staging table, and then I use an import activity to actually overwrite the original data. Because that right now you can't do it off of specific dates, and I want it from 6 months from that day or 11 months from that day.
Okay.
But not from the insert date. I want it from a date that is a custom field that we have for claim date.
Okay. So early in your presentation, you showed us how you create a backup audience when the SQL turned out. Would you consider that to be a best practice?
I do if you have any type of data issues. If you have a really good process or you use some type of third-party tool and then bring your audience in, you don't need to, but we actually use the audience building tool within Marketing Cloud. So since it is our database of record for those audiences and it's the only place that knows what those audiences are, that's why we make a backup.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that was a really cool thing that you did when you showed that to everybody. Is there a data encryption available for data extract? And how will it work?
There is data encryption, and it also, well, it comes through actually as, let's see here. I'm gonna just go over here to activities. Oh, I don't have it turned on. So you have to get that turned on by services. That's what it is. I was like, where is this? So yes, you can do encryption. You have to get it requested by services, and then it will be one of those options.
Oh, okay, that's pretty neat. Okay.
That's why I was like, this is missing, but it's in my other account that I work on. So.
All right. If you don't mind, I have maybe 6 more questions, maybe 7 more questions.
I got tons of time, so.
Thank you. I love it. Everyone is just loving this.
It's only 8 p.m. here, so you all are up probably later than I am.
Oh, I know you have dinner to get to and everything, but okay. So the next question is, can you please show me where we can configure error notifications or success notifications?
Yeah, that was under the automation piece here. I'll show you one more time. And that was what Gilda and I were just discussing, where you put in a distribution list or more than one person.
Okay.
So we'll just go into this one.
Do you have a preference over Automation Studio or Journey Builder, or you're like both?
They both have their uses. So if I only need to build a bunch of data and do some special manipulation and then send one email, I'll use Automation Studio. Anything else where it is, a journey or some type of engagement where I want to have splits and really be able to change their engagement and have unique paths, that's where I would use Journey Builder. But even with Journey Builder, I still use Automation Studio to do all of the data manipulation and major lifting beforehand, so that way people can go through Journey Builder faster.
Nice. Okay.
So that's where I have those staging tables to do those comparisons, like where it was kicking them out if they weren't in the previous one. Instead of having to go back and look at some other larger piece, I have a staging table that's just that account, so that way it can quickly look and move on.
Okay. So this is where we configure error notifications?
Nope, let me, whoop, get back here. Let's do, here, let's even go to our audit one. So this is another version of auditing that you can do where you actually kind of create different queries where you pull different data that you're looking for to then pull out into your system and be able to look at it elsewhere. I do that every once in a while just to make sure that our coupon codes are coming through in a correct format, or what were the other ones over here? I can't even remember half the time because I only do these one off. Oh yeah, our customer attributes. So every once in a while, our attributes for our customers that qualify them for being in the audience will come through and get corrupted. And this is a terrible example because this one doesn't have anyone at all. But you would put it here in this notification settings on the activity tab. So
Okay, so that's
this is your error or skipped. And so this is the one where I was saying that you always want to have an email address in here. But yeah, this one we only, like I was saying, we use for like one-off auditing. So it's not something that's mission critical, which is why. And then runtime completion, these are the ones where you need to make sure that they are running, or if it's something that maybe only runs once a month or every 6 months and you don't have to go in and look, then you could also do it there. But you definitely, if you have things that run daily and you have hundreds of automations, you don't want to have every single one of them have the runtime completion.
Okay. Is there anything you can recommend to help identify automations that are paused or were not reactivated?
So that's where you could even go in here. There's lots of different states. So like here's paused. I may not have any paused right now. Oh, I do. So yeah, I rely heavily on these drop downs. And there's also ways that you can go in external on like a cloud page and be able to do like WS proxy or use an API to be able to pull a large amount of these and be able to audit it that way if you needed to. But as far as for an administrator, you can easily just, use this drop down.
Okay. If the DE headers are space have spaces, do I have to invoke them in an SQL query?
You have to put them in quotes or brackets.
Okay. If the discovery reports won't come up on the screen due to a data size, would you recommend scheduling the snapshot, or will that also will not run due to the data size as well?
That also will not run, which is why I end up querying data views on other tables to pull out that info and then use it. We use Power BI is what we use for a lot of, and then also Omniture for reporting. But then we take even Omniture and put it into Power BI so we can model it all together, and then we can actually even export out the same report from there with a similar chart and everything. But you have to have like millions and millions and millions of rows of data before you come across that. Like I was saying, the parent account had, and it decided to load this time, so it's just being finicky earlier. But yeah, if I were to actually go in, here, I'm going to put one of these to run so you can see what actually happens when there's too much data.
Okay.
Oh, never mind.
Never mind. All right, so 2 final questions. How would you scrub in Journey Builder?
That one I might need an explanation of what they mean by scrub.
I don't know, maybe scrub out maybe data that's not needed, maybe, I don't know. I just saw it says how can you scrub or maybe filter through your data you're in Journey Builder. So I may have to skip that question. The final question is,
if he or she wants to contact me on Slack where I can get some more detail for that question, I'm happy to answer it. I just, Need to know what they mean by scrub to see if they meant something like where I was doing where people didn't get the email, or if they want to be able to look at like the historical views.
Okay. So if you could have one report to look at, which one would you pick?
Accounts and summary.
Accounts and summary. Cool.
Because it tells me, my unsubscribes, my clicks, my opens, my bounces, my name, my send time, my job ID. Pretty much every piece of information except what subscribers got the email.
Okay. So that was all the questions for tonight. There were a lot of them. You did a great job answering and demonstrating for those who needed a little bit of a show and tell. Thank you for everything. This was a really great deep dive and a really great way to finish our boot camps. So thank you so much.
Oh, that's right. There's no journeys in here. I'm like, there's no history. I was going to say there's also a piece in here that maybe she would want for scrubbing, but
yeah, probably was that.
Journeys out of our parent account. Our parent account is just for housing the way too much data, so we can then parse it out into our smaller accounts.
We got a lot of data tables over there, man. That's a lot.
Yeah, we do.
Louise.
Yes, we do. Here, I can show you what a large scale enterprise, when it has a ton of data extensions, looks like here. Because ours is just, it goes on forever. We have these, and then we also have all of our shared. So these are all the ones that you would have to use the ENT dot in order to access. And then these are shared. So the data can actually be shared across the business units. But yeah, we have a ton of data extensions. And you can actually run out of shared data extensions. I learned that this past year. So make sure that when you're not using data extensions, that you either clear them out or you archive them somewhere else and delete them, because you can run out.
Okay, great.
But it's like thousands and thousands.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Before Caleris, I had never run out of data extensions anywhere, so it takes a lot.
Well, this was amazing. Thank you everyone for coming. I'm so glad that you all came to this final presentation tonight. Great job, everyone. Great job, Karina. So glad you're here. So glad Gilda jumped in and said hello. I love her so much. So glad JB did this whole thing for all of us. JB, you are amazing, and we are so thankful for you to have come up with an amazing idea for the community, to have us all just really be able to learn together. Final words from me, at least. Everyone has been asking about day 4 on the slide. Day 4 does not have a slide presentation because it was just a demo. It was a full demo the whole way, so there was no slide provided. It's just a demo, so please watch the recording. It's not there on purpose. It's not an accident. Secondly, a lot of new people jumped in today, which on the last day, we're really glad you all jumped in and have joined us. Please look at the recordings. They were posted in the chat, as well as they will be on the Slack channel for all of those who want to join the Slack channel and connect with us there. Many people are asking, will the Slack channel be closing soon? It will not. You guys have it's going to stay open for you guys. If you need anything, feel free to reach out. Ask questions. It's going to be a really good resource for everyone. I hope all of you pass your exams. I will be posting all of the suggested homework tasks in the homework channel, as well as the recording will be in the resources channel, as well as don't forget to look at the YouTube that you guys have in the Slack, right here in the chat here that has been posted for everyone. So thank you all. So happy that you guys joined us tonight.
And good luck on your exam. Don't get freaked out or anything. You can do it.
Yeah, and awesome also remember
people presenting, so I know you are all more than ready. And feel free to reach out to any of us with questions if there's anything that you still feel unsure about, because everybody that pretty much presented for you guys loves Marketing Cloud and is more than happy to see other people succeed in Marketing Cloud.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, also remember, this bootcamp doesn't end here. We are going to be there to support you across your journey, entire journey, not just the certification. Even further, if you want to learn more, we are there for you. Please feel free to reach out to any of us. And I really thank you for joining us for each of our boot camps. And expressing your interest and continuing the interest to upskill. And I really thank all the presenters, all the speakers, and Karina, this is a great way to end the bootcamp. Your
I have
session
one more
was
request
really
though. If you
insightful.
do get your certification, please tag us so we can celebrate you.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, brag on
Please
LinkedIn
don't forget.
and make sure you tag us because we will celebrate the heck out of you.
Right. And we wish you all the best and very good luck in your future journey and your certifications as well.
I want to say one more thing. Please get ready because the next boot camp will be the developer boot camp, and or I'm trying to still decipher. We're still doing some planning. It may be another email specialist certification boot camp. So look out for that. That's the next boot camp that we will be doing. It will either be the developer marketing cloud certification or the email boot camp, email specialist certification. So I will have more updates for you all on that coming soon. Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Great night. Take care.
Bye.